Thyroid disease and eczema. Is eczema something common in a thyroid or hormonal disorder? Yes, it is. And let me ask you a question. Do you suffer from this itchy red skin, maybe also blisters on your skin, and you don't really know what's causing this? You don't know what is the root cause and you don't know how to fix it. So let me answer this question. Make sure to stay until the end of this video because I would like to give you the best tips and tricks on how to fix this nasty, skin condition, eczema, in thyroid or any other hormonal disorder. So if you suffer from this itchy skin, you have to realize that frequently we call it inflammatory skin condition. And this is very, very important because inflammatory here is actually the key word. If you look at the conventional treatments, usually these conventional treatments, they involve calming down your immune response. But let me explain you why it doesn't really work long term. Now, imagine for a second that you have a house and you have a problem in the house, and for example, you have a water pipe and this water pipe is leaking. And instead of fixing, the root cause of this leak and changing the pipe, calming down this pipe, so, metaphorically speaking, you are actually putting a tape on this pipe just to calm down this pipe. And you hope that it's gonna work, but long term we both know, you and I, we know that this pipe will eventually leak again. Okay, this is just the nature of the things, how they work. So now imagine for a second that this is the situation inside your body, that you are suffering from this inflammatory reaction, inflammatory state inside your body, and instead of working on the root cause and calming down this inflammatory, condition, you are actually just getting a medication that, kinds of tapes this, so calms it down for short term, but long term it doesn't really work. And not only that, but all of this, immunosuppressants or corticosteroids, they also give you a lot of side effects. Like for example, you're gaining weight, and they suppress your natural, cortisol production. So cortisol is a stress hormone, you need it, in your body. And this is associated with tons of side effects. And if you've already tried it and it didn't work, don't be surprised because this is just the nature, how it works. So what can you use instead, and why this eczema of your skin happen in the first place? Eczema, if you really look in the science, we call it Th2 dominant condition. Th2 is just, abbreviation from T helper cells. T helper, in general, T cells are just the cells inside your body. Maybe you've ever heard about so-called white blood cells. So T cells is just a type, of white blood cell. And these T cells, this, Th2 and Th1 and Th17, whatever really the number, they help you to modulate your immune response. So anytime you are having, too much or too low of these Th cells, you may develop autoimmune reaction, which also affects your skin, and that's why you're suffering from eczema, okay? So in eczema specifically, we are dealing with Th2 dominant condition, so too much of these Th2 cells, okay? And this is the same as in Graves' disease. So this shouldn't be really surprising to you that eczema in thyroid disease is actually more common in Graves than Hashimoto's, because both Graves and eczema are associated with this, dominance of Th2 cells. So in order to fix it, we have to actually understand what is causing this, Th2 dominance in the first place. So again, if we look at the science, we know that a lot of environmental, but also, small percentage of the genetic factors plays role in this condition. The first one is, of course, your diet, okay? Diet is a really, really strong, I call it environmental factor, but in general, it's like, lifestyle factor, I would say. And anytime you're eating dairy, sugar, you're frequently eating, so you're spiking up your insulin, you increase the inflammation in your body. And this may lead to, poor gut health condition, and this may also develop this Th2 dominance, which eventually gives you this eczema, okay? So in order to calm down your body, you have to absolutely avoid, gluten, dairy. You may also benefit from avoiding histamine-rich foods, because histamine is another thing that, can give you this itchiness. So for example, fermented foods, they are high in histamine, or for example, soy sauce, soy products. They're not really healthy. And the best diet for eczema is anti-inflammatory diet. So you want to focus focus on consumption of healthy fats and also oils, like for example coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil, or for example cod liver oil. These kinds of oils have high amounts of omega-3 fatty acids that help you to decrease inflammation, and in this way you can actually regulate this immune response. Not only that, but you also want to include some healthy veggies in your diet. Specifically, green leafy veggies are great because they are very easy to digest. So if you have some gut issue in addition to eczema, which is very, very common, this won't cause any side effects. But also green leafy veggies are high in minerals, vitamins, and antioxidants. So this combo really helps you to decrease this inflammation, and in this way you can actually regulate this autoimmune response. Okay, so this is 2 tips. Another thing that you want to consume is of course bone broth and meat. When it comes to meat, avoid processed meats, like for example salami, prosciutto, these kind of things, because they are high in histamine. So if you are suffering from itching, this will most probably give you some problem. Instead of this processed meats, try to cook your meat, preferably boil it, and stick to 200-250 grams a day. Don't exaggerate with meat, because meat also tends to include some histamine, and you don't want this too high histamine levels. So if you are having, as I was saying, this gut issue, which is also a common trigger or root cause of this eczema problem, you may also benefit from drinking bone broth. Bone broth is amazing. Make sure to cook your own bone broth. You will find the recipe on thyroidboss.com. Stick to 1 or 2 cups a day, because again, bone broth has some histamine. If you really react in a bad way to histamine, you can at the same time be taking herbs and supplements, which can help you also to decrease this histamine. Okay, so this is kind of like a trick, and in this way you can be fixing the root cause, so your gut problem, by drinking bone broth, but at the same time you will be decreasing this histamine levels, so you're avoiding this side effects and itching. So when it comes to supplements, you want to really focus on 2 strategies. The first one is to decrease these histamine levels, especially if you suffer from itching, and the second one is to decrease, of course, inflammation. So the herbs that will help you to decrease inflammation is, for example, ginger or turmeric. But if you want to take it to the next level, you can actually check our formula on h-boss.com. We have a great anti-inflammatory formula that is, of course, based on ginger and turmeric, but also has other things, like for example MSM. So this all-in-one formula really works great for your gut and also helps to decrease inflammation. When it comes, on the other hand, to decreasing these histamine levels, you can supplement with stinging nettle root and also quercetin. Though these 2 supplements work great when it comes to decreasing too high histamine levels, and in this way you can actually avoid itching. If you, however, really struggle with itchiness and you have these blisters on your skin, you can also apply some essential oils directly to your skin. Now, a good tip is to always mix essential oil, like for example lavender oil in this case, with a carrier oil, like for example coconut oil. So you can add 10 to 15 drops of lavender oil to half a glass of coconut oil. You want to mix it and you want to apply it directly on your skin. This should really help you to decrease itchiness. It's also antibacterial, so this should also help you to decrease the symptoms and the redness of eczema. Okay. In addition to that, you also want to change your lifestyle. So make sure to go to bed early, okay? Because in this way you are decreasing your cortisol and stress levels that also can affect this autoimmune reaction and of course give you eczema. Another tip is to take some specific, healthy baths just before going to bed. Like for example, a bath with Epsom salts can help you to decrease inflammation, and in this way you are helping your immune system also to work better. So this is another great tip. Okay, if this doesn't help, you want to work with a functional doctor to really search for other underlying root cause of this problem. As I was saying, most often it's a gut problem, so all of the strategies that I've mentioned should really work on you. But this is 70%, but 30% of you can also have some additional trigger or root cause that can in addition be causing this eczema. Maybe you are suffering, for example, from a bacterial infection like H. pylori. H. pylori is pretty common in the thyroid or hormonal disease, and if you suffer from infection of H. pylori, this will actually decrease the absorption of vitamins and also nutrients in your body, and these deficiencies can also, be linked to this autoimmune reaction, and that's why you're suffering from eczema. Another problem can be, for example, too high or too low cortisol. So cortisol is a stress hormone, is actually produced by your adrenal glands, and if you suffer from too high stress, too much cortisol and too high stress can also affect your immune system, and that's why you're suffering from this autoimmune reaction that not only gives you eczema but can also predispose you to other diseases, like for example thyroid disease. So always make sure to really consult a functional doctor if you want 360-degree strategy, because it's very difficult, maybe not difficult, but it's challenging to really fix this problem on your own. I really believe that you can fix this problem in 80% if you just follow the strategies that I've listed here. Of course, I will include all of these strategies below this video, so you can just download the guide and apply it to your life. But if this doesn't help you, if you've been using this for 30, 60 days, really invest in your body, in your life, and make a consultation with a good doctor, because this will also speed up your results, and this will really help you to understand what is causing this problem in the first place, right? Like really dig down to the root cause of this problem. So I think it's everything in this video, guys. If you have some questions, make sure to comment below, and also check this free guide that I've included below this video, because it's much easier to just follow guides step by step rather than rewatching this video. So follow this guide. If you have any questions, make sure to comment below, and thanks for watching, and see you guys.